Today we will discuss about the cavernous sinus. Cavernous sinus, it is situated into the middle cranial fossa. This is a middle cranial fossa. This is a anterior. This is a middle, and this is a posterior cranial fossa. It is a 2 centimeter long and 1 centimeter in width, situated on each side of the body of the sphenoid bone. This is the body of the sphenoid bone, and above it there is a hypophyseal fossa. So the cavernous sinus, it is the 2 centimeter long on each side of the sphenoidal bone, and it is 1 centimeter in width. It lies inside the middle cranial fossa between the two layers of the cranial dura on either side of the body of the sphenoid, and it divides into the small spaces by the trabecula. And formation, it consists of the four wall. It forms the roof. It has a lateral wall. Here there is a lateral wall. This is a medial wall, and this is a floor of the cavernous sinus. Roof and lateral wall, which is formed by the meningeal layer of the dura mater, which is covering to the temporal lobe. If I will keep inside the interior of the cranium, this temporal lobe, which lies inside the lateral wall, as well as it makes the roof, which is formed by the meningeal layer of the covering to the temporal lobe, meningeal layer of the dura mater, which is covering to the temporal lobes. So it is the roof, and here I will show you the floor, which is formed by the this one is the endosteal layer of the dura mater, which is formed by the floor, and medial wall, which is formed by the endosteal layer of the dura mater. So floor and medial wall, which is formed by the endosteal layer of the dura mater. Anteriorly, the cavernous sinus, which is extend up to the superior orbital fissure. Here if I will the forceps inside the superior orbital fissure, and it is also if we consider, it is extend up to the apex of the orbit. Posteriorly, it is extend up to the apex of the petrous part of the temporal bone. This is the petrous part of the temporal bone, and this is the apex of the petrous part of the temporal bone. The relations of the cavernous sinus, here you can see this is we have dissected the cavernous sinus on the right side. We have removed some part of the parietal as well as temporal bone. This is a temporalis muscles and reflect in the side, and we have dissected the middle cranial fossa. And here you can see this is a trigeminal ganglion, and this trigeminal ganglion, it gives the three branches: ophthalmic division, maxillary division, and mandibular division. Ophthalmic, which passes through the superior orbital fissures, and the maxillary foramen rotundum, and the mandibular through the foramen ovals. So superiorly, the cavernous sinus, which is bounded by these are the two optic nerve, and it makes the optic chiasma, and this is a intercarotid artery, as well as it is by the anterior perforated substance inside the brain. Here you can see this is the superior boundary by the optic chiasma, intercarotid artery, and just behind to the optic chiasma there is an anterior perforated substance. If I will keep inside the anatomical position, so it makes the roof of the cavernous sinus. The inferior wall of the cavernous sinus, which is formed by the foramen lacerum. Here you can see this is a foramen lacerum, and junction of the greater wing of the sphenoid. This is the upper one is the lesser wing of sphenoid, and this is the greater wing of sphenoid, which is connected with the body of the sphenoids. Medially, you can see here it is bounded by the pituitary stalk. This is inside. This is the hypophyseal fossa, and here also you can see this is the hypophyseal fossa, and this is a pituitary stalk, and there is a inside the sphenoidal bone there is a sphenoidal air sinus. Laterally, it is bounded by the temporal lobe of the cerebral hemisphere. If I will keep inside the anatomical position, so this temporal lobe which makes the lateral boundary of the cavernous sinus, and also fossa for the trigeminal ganglion. This is the it is called the cave trigeminalis. It contains the trigeminal ganglion, and it gives the three branches: ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibulars. So laterally it is bounded by the temporal lobe as well as there is a trigeminal ganglion. Anteriorly it extends up to the superior orbital fissure, we already discussed, and apex of the orbit. Posteriorly it extend up to the cross cerebri part of the midbrain. Here just I will reflect here. This is a pons, and above to it there is a midbrain. It is a cross of the midbrain, cross cerebri of the midbrain, and also there is a apex of the petrous temporal bone, apex of the petrous temporal bone. So it is a posterior boundary, cross cerebri of the midbrain. Here there is a cross cerebri of the midbrain and apex of the petrous part of the temporal bone. So the structure which are passing inside the cavernous sinus from above to downwards, the first is the oculomotor nerve. This is the third nerve. It is the third cranial nerve, oculomotor nerve. And this is a trochlear nerve. This is the fourth nerve, and which innervate to the superior oblique muscles. After that there is a below to it there is a ophthalmic division of the trigeminal nerve, and there is a maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve. So these are the structure which are lies on the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus, and the mandibular division which is not lies inside the cavernous sinus, which is outside the cavernous sinus. Inside the cavernous sinus on the medial wall, if I will reflect the oculomotor nerve and the ophthalmic division, here you just below to it you can see there is a sixth nerve. It is the abducent nerve. So this is the abducent nerve which is passes through the cavernous sinus, or just near to the just lateral to the internal carotid artery. So internal carotid artery and the abducent nerve which is lies on the medial side of the cavernous sinus, while at the junction of the roof and lateral wall there is a trochlear nerve and a oculomotor nerve, while the lateral wall it contains the ophthalmic division and maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve, and the mandibular which is outside the cavernous sinus. Now we will discuss about the tributaries of the cavernous sinus. This one is the cavernous sinus, and anteriorly it opens from the orbit. It opens the superior ophthalmic vein. It receives the inferior ophthalmic vein and central vein of the retina. From the directly brain, it receives the tributaries from the inferior cerebral vein and superior middle cerebral veins. From the meninges, it receives the spinoparietal sinus and the frontal trunk of the middle meningeal veins. Communications of the cavernous sinus. Here this is a cavernous sinus. It is communicated through the superior petrosal sinus. Here it is communicated with the transverse sinus. So here there is a cavernous sinus, and this is a superior petrosal sinus on the apex of the petrous temporal bone, and it is communicated with the transverse sinus. So through the superior petrosal sinus, cavernous sinus communicated with the transverse sinus. Here through the inferior petrosal sinus, it is communicated with the interjugular veins. And it also connected. Here you can see, I will reflect the this is the cavernous sinus which is communicated through the emissary veins by the pterygoid venous plexus. Here you can see this is the infratemporal fossa, and this is the pterygoid venous plexus. So this pterygoid venous plexus which is communicated with the cavernous sinus, there is a emissary vein which is passes through the foramen oval, foramen spinosum and foramen lacerums, and it is communicated with the pterygoid venous plexus. So this is the pterygoid venous plexus, and it is also communicated with the deep facial veins. The facial vein which is also communicated by the cavernous sinus, By the superior ophthalmic vein, it is communicated the facial vein, which is communicated with the dorsal nasal vein, and the dorsal nasal vein, it is a tributaries of the ophthalmic vein, and ophthalmic vein, which is communicated, it is a tributaries of the cavernous sinus. Another thing you have to remember, the deep facial vein, which is communicated with the pterygoid plexus, and pterygoid plexus through the emissary veins, which is communicated with the cavernous sinus. So these are the communications with the cavernous sinus, and it is also communicated with the superior sagittal sinus via the superior middle cerebral vein and superior anastomosis vein. So this is about to the communications of the cavernous sinus. Factor regulating the blood flow inside the cavernous sinus by the S-shape siphon shape of the internal carotid artery, which is pulsating inside the cavernous sinus, and it is controlled by the gravity and changes of the position of the head, which regulate the blood flow inside the cavernous sinus. Applied aspect of the cavernous sinus, it is a septic thrombosis of the cavernous sinus caused by the septic infection from the dangerous area of the face. Either it is through the superior ophthalmic vein or either through the pterygoid plexus, it enter inside the cavernous sinus. And other thing, it lead to there is a severe pain inside the eye, forehead, and due to the involvement of the ophthalmic nerve, it lead to there is a ophthalmoplegia. It is called the paralysis of the ocular muscles due to the involvement of the third, fourth, and sixth cranial nerve. Also, along with it, there is a marked edema of the eyelid, exophthalmos, due to the congestion of the orbital vein following obstruction of the ophthalmic veins. So sometimes there is if the internal carotid artery, which is ruptured in a fracture of the base of the skull, your internal carotid artery which is ruptured at the base of the skull, there is a arteriovenous communications may establish between the artery and cavernous sinus, and it lead to there is a pulsating exophthalmos. There is a, you can feel the pulsation over the eyeballs, edema of the eyelids, loud systolic murmur that can be easily heard over the eye, and ophthalmoplegia due to the increased venous pressure of the cavernous sinus. It lead to there is a compression of the third, fourth, and sixth nerve. So, and it also lead to papilloedema and edema of the retina. So this is about the clinical aspect of the cavernous sinus. Hope you enjoy the lecture. Thank you very much.